You could be the best reality shifter in the world and have completed a lot of shadow work, and still you're not able to shift into your desired reality. And your desired reality is obtainable, meaning it is something that you know exists, that is ready for you, that you can easily shift into. It's not like you are trying to change your body drastically, maybe small things here and there. It's not like you're trying to wake up and be in a Transylvanian castle when you live in New York City. And so, what happens when you can't shift, even though you've done the work, even though it's achievable, not only in this lifetime, but on the order of minutes or hours or days or weeks or months? This gets to a phenomenon that I have observed in my own life, and I was talking to a friend about it today. The idea of pivots. You, with your consciousness at this moment and at this space, you have an idea of the best route and reality that will get you to your highest timeline. And sometimes the universe disagrees. And sometimes your entourage, your support team, whoever that is, and a lot of us have guides or ancestors or past loved ones or even connections with interstellar organizations or starseed families. It varies, right? But your entourage might actually disagree. Imagine for a moment that you're starting out in your career and you learn some skills, whatever career it is. You learn some skills to get the job. And the job that you get is amazing. And it exceeds your wildest expectations. And imagine that you have a boss that sees your capability and understands your, based on their experience, your potential. And imagine that you go in for a promotion and they deny you because they actually want to give you a much bigger role, but you need more training or you need more support. At that moment of denial, if they haven't told you, you might feel slighted. Especially if you've worked really hard. And if you know that you deserve it, you might feel like it's unfair. But you wouldn't be privy to the plan that your boss has for you, because maybe there's some pieces that need to go into place. And what I have observed, and just a side note, is that those people who have a certain level of wisdom and experience don't reveal everything, especially plans that they might have for you. They don't tell you everything because they're waiting for the right moment. What I have actually found is that those that have lower self-discipline or are still in their shadow or are just super excited to share everything. I can be like that sometimes. I can actually be like all of those, truth be told. And they'll just tell you all of the ideas that they have. Oh, I'm going to do this and we can do that and we can do that. And unfortunately what happens is that things don't always align and come together. And so as a result, you might feel disappointed if you had that knowledge in advance. So sometimes, especially people who are wise, who have self-discipline and experience, they will actually hold back to give you the surprise of a lifetime potentially when it's actually ready. And so your entourage can do that to you too. And so it might seem as though everything is not working out. For example, I think back to this past year, and before I started making content, I was a gifted and talented coach, and I was working with some clients, and I started making content, but I could tell that it wasn't like completely in alignment. And it was also really challenging to find new clients because most of the people didn't understand GT problems unless they were educators. And it makes sense because that particular type of neurodivergence is not really understood in society. So it was kind of like my content was just talking to a bubble of other educators and other people who knew about it, and not really like capturing the target audience. And so as I continued on my path, I started doing psychedelic facilitation, and this felt like it was becoming closer and closer in alignment with me, where it wasn't just the mind and the heart, it was also the spirit. And through that, I started really connecting with the integration of all of my gifts and abilities and talents. Now, strangely, I was shocked when things started falling through. And I was like, what is going on? You see, I'd already pivoted from the gifted and talented, although I continued doing that, but I stopped trying to grow that part of my project. And I pivoted to the psychedelic facilitation, and all of a sudden, things weren't working the way that they were supposed to. I was like, universe, what's going on? So I pivoted to content creation. Boom. All of a sudden, this started opening up pathways and doorways that I had dreamed of, but I never knew how to obtain. And all of a sudden, I was working with people who appreciated all of my gifts. And unlike with my gifted and talented coaching, where I had to hold back a lot, and I was doing great in the world, it wasn't fully stepping into my potential. Even though it was fantastic, even though I enjoyed it, even though I was connecting with purpose and service, it still wasn't quite hitting the mark. And so I think of alignment, this is how I conceptualize it, and you can make it fit for your own situation, your own life. I think of alignment like one of those analog clocks where you have the hour hand and the second hand that are like doot, 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 doot. And let's say that your highest potential is at 12 o'clock. And you start off reality shifting at, let's say, 11:55. When you hit 11:56, let's say you get this job or an opportunity, or you meet somebody that connects you with the love of your life, right? Seemingly. It feels really good because you're like, this is such an improvement. Like when I started doing gifted and talented coaching, I was like, oh my God, I can work remotely. Oh my God, this is amazing. I can set my own hours. I don't have a 9-to-5. That was a big improvement, right? But now imagine hitting 11:57. Boom, zing. All of a sudden you've opened up another part of your abilities that you didn't see, that you could apply. And then all of a sudden, now your heart is like vibrating in a way that it's never been vibrating before. And you're starting to connect with purpose. And everything else felt good, right? But now you're starting to touch upon what it feels like to be in alignment. And then things stop working for you. What's going on? Then the hand goes to 11:58. All of a sudden, you are so excited because it's like a dream is coming true, and maybe you didn't think this dream was achievable in this lifetime. But when you are at those transition moments, And when you are reality shifting, because this also applies to just manifestation, and there is a difference. I don't always articulate that difference. They go hand in hand, but when you start incorporating reality shifting, you might feel stuck. And you might feel like you're hitting dead end upon dead end. And part of your emotional mastery journey is to see those challenges and those obstacles from a higher perspective. That maybe it's not that everything is failing. I have a tendency to see it that way. My first reaction is to get frustrated and to want to control everything and to dictate the how and the when. And it's something that is part of my shadow work journey that I still work on. I still have negative emotions that I have to release. And so your emotional experience is dictated by your understanding of what is going on. And when you are caught in child consciousness or victim consciousness or powerless consciousness, then you can start to get really angry and you can feel hopeless. You can want to give up. You can say reality shifting and manifestation doesn't work. That's the time to really dig in deep, connect with your higher self, and to let the hour hand connect to 11:59. Because sometimes there are delays that are outside of your control. Because remember that when you are manifesting, you're working with other people. Even though they're not in the room with you, all of your opportunities, even if they're not people, you're working with other sentient beings. And even if they're not in the room with you, it's like this dance. There are pieces of the puzzle to get you where you need to go that need to fall into place. And so when you're in a situation like this, seeing these as opportunities to look beyond the curve. When you're driving and you have a hairpin curve, if you were to just take that curve as slow as possible, it might seem like you're never going to get through it. And then when you finally get through it, you might be on a part of the road that is absolutely amazing. And the best advice I can give for you is to really work on constructively discharging your emotions. And especially when you feel blocked or when you feel that you're hitting your head up against the wall, or if you're not getting the results because the people that you're attached to are not supporting you in the right way, look for ways to pivot. The further you are from your alignment, the further you are from your highest path or your truth, the more times you're going to have to go through this. It is kind of like a series of hairpin turns to get you to where you need to go. And this is especially true if you are stepstoning manifestations. And so if you've mapped out your highest path, but you can't just get there in one reality jump, you have to get there through a sequence of lily pad jumps, is what I like to call it. You might have a plan for that and how that looks, but you might get detoured and diverted, and your willingness to be a participant with the universe, a co-creator with the universe, and your entourage is going to facilitate much quicker, is going to facilitate your move to that direction. And had I started making content earlier, like I was guided to do, and I mean, literally, people would tell me, oh, you should start a podcast. Oh, I mean, strangers would be like, oh, your voice is so great. You should start, da, da, da. But I had internal blocks and fears that I was not prepared to overcome. And I had to first do that personal work. And then I had to be in a situation where it was the right thing to do. And so if I was just working as a gifted and talented coach and I was holding on to that job and holding on to that plan, you wouldn't be listening to this right now. And this is much more gratifying at a deep soul level for me to be able to share this with you. And whereas the other things that I was making was very head driven, and it just had a different vibration, a different frequency. There's nothing wrong with it. But in terms of satisfaction, this is a lot closer. And I also feel that there's another pivot that I'm already starting to get a sense of. And so I share this with you. I share part of my personal journey in hopes that you can see it as almost like a mirror and a map for your own life to ease some of these more challenging moments, especially as reality shifters, because it's exciting. And when it doesn't work, it can feel really debilitating. It can feel soul crushing sometimes. And sometimes when it's not working, it's actually in our highest interest. It is actually working behind the scenes, but we're looking for the evidence of it. And we're not seeing it. We're not seeing the tangible results of it. And so if you're like me, sometimes you can fall into the trap, the consciousness trap of assuming that everything is just a wash and it's not working. But that's not true. And so by understanding the bigger picture, you can step into your new life more gracefully and without as many tantrums or outbursts as I like to sometimes have in the privacy of my own home and in the beach in Thailand. It was pretty epic. So we have our moments. We all have our moments. Even I have my moments. And, looking back at that time, definitely it's understandable, but, I could do it differently. I could express myself differently to the moon and to the stars and to the beings that I was communicating with so fervently. Anyway, so if you need help with your pivots or your reality shifting journey, you are welcome to reach out to me at sacredjourneyproductions@gmail.com.